Do you guys have your keys with you? If so, can I ask you to get them out? And I want you to hold them or put them on your lap for this sermon, okay? So if you got your keys, go ahead and take them out. Now, keys, on here, you've probably got all different kinds of keys. Anybody have any keys on the key ring that you don't know what it goes to anymore? You know, we all have that. You've probably got your house keys, maybe even your car keys in here. But grab these keys, because what do the keys represent? Access, right? They represent access. They represent authority, right? At least that's what my middle school janitor told me. But they do. They represent control, right? That's what keys represent. And because of that, you don't hand your keys to just anybody, right? You don't give your house key to just anybody. I don't know if somebody that is not part of your family has a key to your house, but if they do, it's because you trust them, right? When Logan and I were dating, she lived in an apartment, and I lived in a house not too far away. And we were both coming home from work one day, and I called her up, and in that phone conversation, I realized that she was on the same road that I was on, but just about a mile behind me. And so she told me she was going to go to her apartment, change clothes, and come on over to my house. I said, great, I'll see you there. Except I didn't go to my house. I realized where she was, and so I sped over to her apartment. I had a key to her apartment. So I sped over there, and I parked it where she couldn't see my car, and I sprinted up to the stairs. She was on the second level. I opened the door, got in, closed it, locked it back, and I went and hid in her bedroom closet. Sounds like a great idea, huh? It was awesome. But when she came in, she was talking to somebody. She was on the phone, and she was talking to her mom. She walks in, and I'm just in her bedroom closet, just waiting for her to open that thing. And but she's just pacing. Anybody pacers when you're talking on the phone? And she's pacing right in front of that closet door. And I'm just holding my mouth, trying not to laugh, trying not to make noise. I'm just so excited about what I'm about to do to this lady. And finally, she's still on the phone, and she opens that door. And I come out of there, blah, I just scared the Holy Spirit right out of her soul. Well, she's still on the phone, and she screams, and accidentally hangs up the phone. That's the only thing her mom heard. Now, she didn't think it was as funny as it really was. She was upset, but her mom, she was furious. And she told Logan, you take that key away from that boy. I don't know why he has that key in the first place. She was mad. I'm not sure she's really recovered from that. But if you give somebody a key to your house, then you trust them. You obviously trust them. Most of us are very careful with our keys. And here's the tension that I want us to sit in today. Is it possible? Is it possible to sincerely follow Jesus and still quietly decide which areas of our lives He doesn't need access to? Is that possible? That we would give our faith and our loyalty to Jesus, but then still have rooms in our heart that we do not allow Him total and full control of. That we shut those doors and we lock them, and that's off limits to Him. Because if you give Him the keys, you know that some things are going to have to change in your life. And you know that's going to cost you something. I mean, you might not be ready to forgive somebody just yet. You might not be ready to confess your sexual sin right now. Because you want to see if you can deal with it your own way first. You lose something when you hand over the keys to Jesus. And if there's one thing that most of us want to keep, it's control. Am I right? So we don't usually lock Jesus out because we don't love him, but we're just not ready for his full access yet. And that's exactly the situation that Jesus addresses in Revelation chapter 2. He writes to a church that was a pretty good church, guys. This church, I mean, you're going to see it was loving, it was serving, it was persevering church, and it was a growing church. I mean, from the outside, everything looked healthy about this church, but inside, Jesus saw something that they had learned to live with. And it was doors that were closed off to him. So if you got your Bibles, I want you to open up to Revelation chapter 2. And I want you to go to verse 18. This is to the church in Thyatira. So let's read Revelation chapter 2. Let's read that first verse there, 18. It says this: To the angel of the church in Thyatira write, these are the words of the Son of God, whose eyes are like blazing fire, and whose feet are like burnished bronze. You know, it's interesting that he says the Son of God, because I don't think any of us, hesitated whenever we read that. He is the Son of God. We call him the Son of God all the time. But not in Revelation. You don't see, that's the only time he ever calls himself the Son of God. The only thing he really calls himself in Revelation is the Son of Man, which comes from the Old Testament. But here he says the Son of God. And he says that on purpose. You guys, last week we talked about this, that every time he writes a letter to one of these churches, he always begins the letter by introducing them again to himself. That whatever he's about to say after this has to be seen through who he is. Otherwise it'll be distorted. You only see the truth through the lens of Jesus. And so he says, I am the Son of God. And that title, the reason that he uses that, because he's making a deliberate claim that his authority outranks every other authority that they were familiar with. The emperor, he called himself the son of Zeus. No. Jesus is the only legitimate, true Son of God. There was other gods that they worshiped that called themselves the Son of Gods. But whatever power the church might fear, Jesus says, no, guys, I am. I am. And then he moves to the eyes like blazing fire. I mean, we saw that in the beginning of Revelation where Jesus is described with all these qualities, and now he's bringing these back into these letters. And he's for this church, he brings in the fact that his eyes were blazing like fire and his feet were like burnished bronze. And of course, the point was that Jesus sees everything. While we may be trying to lock him out of some things in our life, he sees right through the locked door. He sees everything. Nothing is hidden from him. And of course, imagery is taken straight from Daniel chapter 10. Go put a bookmark in Daniel chapter 10 and go read that after church today. But there's a heavenly figure that appears with eyes like fire and limbs like burnished bronze. And the eyes represent his power to not only see them, but to know them. And every intention of the heart is seen by Jesus. And Paul says it plainly in Galatians 6:7, right? In Galatians 6:7 it says this, and I know that, the whole 6:7 thing, it's getting kind of tired now, whatever. But use it as a memory thing. Galatians 6:7, right? Now let's memorize Galatians 6:7. It says this: do not be deceived. Right? Don't lie to yourself, it says. God cannot be what? Yeah, mocked. In other words, God sees everything. God's not blind. Don't lie to yourself. You can't lie to God. And then he says, a man reaps what he sows. God sees it. And he's going to reward the good, and there are consequences for the bad. Jesus sees what's happening here in Thyatira, and he starts with the good that is happening here. So look in verse 19. Go back to verse 19. It says this. I know your good deeds. I see them, he says. Your love and your faith, your service and perseverance, and that you are now doing more than you did at first. I mean, this is a really encouraging report card. If Jesus was giving this church a report card, I would hope that it would say some of those types of things. This church is marked by love and faith and service and perseverance and growth. And I can't help but notice that they had what the Ephesian church lost. Do you guys remember the Ephesian church? They had truth, right? But what did they lose? They lost their love for other people, right? Well, they have love. They haven't lost that, right? And he calls that out, and that's a very good thing. And Jesus says that they're doing more now than they did at first. This church is not declining. It's growing. And it sounds like, wouldn't this be a church that all of us would want to attend? From the outside, everything looks good and open. But look at verse 20. This is where it changes. It says this. Nevertheless, I have this against you. You tolerate that woman Jezebel, who calls herself a prophet. By her teaching, she misleads my servants into sexual immorality and the eating of food sacrificed to idols. See, the church was growing. It was doing good. It felt good to be in that church. And while the leaders of that church were counting gains, and they were growing, it turns out that healthy things grow. But not all that grows is healthy. Healthy things grow, but not all that grows is healthy. And the key word in that text is tolerate. That's the key word there. Not only was there false teaching going on in that church, but what might be worse than the false teaching is that the church tolerated it. They accepted it. They didn't fight against it. See, the problem in Thyatira was not ignorance. It wasn't that they didn't know. It was permission, that they allowed it to go on. See, they didn't lose control of leadership at this church. No, they decided who got access. They gave the keys to the wrong people. And it wasn't that they were unaware of that things had changed. They just weren't willing to have the hard conversations. Because confronting those types of things is always going to cost you something. See, what we permit today is what we promote tomorrow. They loved others, good, but they struggled to remain grounded in truth. But we know that love isn't really love if it's afraid to confront. We know that. Any parent knows this. Refusing to correct your child is not kindness, is it? It's neglect. And my parents must have loved me a lot. I remember one day I was riding at the end of the day, and the sun was setting, and we were in a pickup, and I looked over to my dad, and I said, "It's the end of the day, and I haven't got a spanking yet today." Now, do I have any really good dads in here right now? What was his response to me back? Well, you want one now? I remember that even to this day. Man, one of the great parenting lines of the 1980s. And Jesus, he names the influence behind it. And he calls out this woman named Jezebel. Does anybody know, anybody remember in the Old Testament what he's talking about in the story of Jezebel there? This is probably not an actual person's name in the church. If it was, that's crazy. But what he's talking about is he's talking about a type of person here in this church. Because in the Old Testament, if you go back, Jezebel, Queen Jezebel, married King Ahab. King Ahab was afraid to confront his wife. And his wife was she the most evil woman that ever lived? I mean, she was awful, and she made adultery and sexual sin and idolatry just commonplace. And anybody who resisted her, she bullied. Maybe you remember the story of Elijah, who stood up and she bullied him and he fled. Even Elijah, powerful Elijah, ran away in fear from her. Now you've got a woman in this church that is promoting some of those same types of things. See, here's how it worked in Thyatira. Thyatira was a different town than the ones that we've just been talking about. This one's not on the coast. This one's not a pretty town. This is a blue collar, this is a working man's town, okay? Think factories, not beach resorts, okay? And because of that, they had all types of trade guilds. Do you know what I'm talking about? Trade guilds? It's like unions, right? And their trade guilds were enmeshed politically. And because the politics in that day was one and the same with religion, it was all together. And so if you were going to make a living in that town, you probably had to be part of one of these trade guilds to make it easy on you. But the problem was that they would have these feasts, these religious feasts with these trade guilds on a regular basis, and in those feasts they would sacrifice this meat to their idol, to their god, and then they would eat it in declaration of loyalty to their god. And then on top of that, there would be sexual immorality tied into those feasts. But then Jezebel came in, this teaching came in, and offers a solution. Because these guys are put in a difficult place. I mean, somebody might say, well, just don't be part of it. Well, guys, if you're not part of the trade guild, how are you going to make a living? Those Christians were really put in a real, those men that were working were put in a really tough position. What are you going to do? How are you going to provide for your family? And at that moment, this teaching walks in and says, hey, listen, I think you can do both. I think you can do both. You don't have to be so extreme. You can follow Jesus and still participate. And the idea was this: what you do with your body, your physical body, doesn't affect your spiritual faith. And that teaching was a compartmentalization of what we did on Monday versus what we do on Sunday. You could believe one thing, but live another. And you explain it away. Use your words to kind of explain how it was okay. See, Jesus, he was welcome into some rooms. But he hadn't had the keys to all the rooms. See, this wasn't just a small disagreement in the church that should have happened. This struck at the very heart of what it means to follow Jesus. And there should have been somebody in this church that would rise up. But there wasn't. This is what theologians called syncretism. Whenever you try to love Jesus and try to love the world at the same time. There will always be someone telling you that faithfulness doesn't have to cost you so much. There will always be somebody telling you that. But Jesus says otherwise. Look in verse 21 and 22. It says, I have given her time to repent of her immorality, but she is unwilling. So I will cast her on a bed of suffering, and I will make those who commit adultery with her to suffer intensely, unless they repent of her ways. It's interesting that he says, I've given her time to repent. God is patient with them so that what? So that they might repent. Guys, we've got to be really clear on this. Don't confuse God's patience with his permission. Delayed judgment is mercy, not approval. It's the moment before Jesus reaches for the keys himself. Right? He's just going to take them at some point. And sometimes nothing seems to happen for a long time. We're in our sin. We're in the ways of the world, and nothing. There's no consequence for it. And that's when we make the biggest mistake. We assume that we are safe. It's like that watermelon and rubber band thing, right? For a long time, nothing happens, and then suddenly, everything explodes. Jesus said that there was time to repent, but the consequences are coming. And notice, this isn't just about Jezebel. Did you notice that? Anyone who follows her teaching is going to share in that judgment. Why? Because this wasn't private. It was a virus. It was taught, it was accepted by the church, and then defended by the church. And Jesus, it's going to get graphic. And Jesus is not overreacting. He is intervening here. And here's the mercy, even in the warning, that the door to repentance is still open, but it will not remain open forever. So if the Spirit is pressing on something that you have excused in your life, if you feel Him trying to press on a door that you've got locked, maybe you've compartmentalized something, don't mistake that patience for permission. Hand over the keys to the door while you still have time. Look at verse 23. It says, I will strike her children dead. Then all the churches will know that I am He who searches the hearts and minds, and I will repay each of you according to your deeds. I told you it's going to get graphic here. Now, Jesus is not talking about little children, okay? He's talking about her followers. And those who follow this teaching will share in that judgment. This is graphic because the situation is serious. And notice why Jesus does this. Why does He do it? What did He say? He says, then all the churches will know. See, the goal is clarity so that they will see who actually holds the keys. It starts out by saying that Jesus is the one with the eyes, right? Eyes like fire, that He sees. But His goal is so that we would see as well. That it would be clear in our minds and our hearts as well. Jesus is not a mascot. Jesus is not that buddy Jesus that we see. He's not the gentle lamb all the time, is He? No, He's the Lord. We have got to revere Him and fear Him as such. He searches the hearts and the minds, and He repays according to the deeds. But there is some good news here. Not everyone in Thyatira had compromised. And so look in verse 24. It says this, now I say to the rest of you in Thyatira, to you who do not hold to her teaching and have not learned Satan's so-called deep secrets, I will not impose any other burden on you except to hold on to what you have until I come. See, there's a theme in this letter, right, that Jesus sees, that he sees. And right here, He sees the faithfulness of these few people that no one else is applauding. And if you're being quietly faithful in some difficult spots in your life, man, Jesus sees that. Don't think that that's going unnoticed. And Jesus calls these things so-called, do you see that, deep secrets, right? See, false teaching often hides behind the claim of depth. But if it's untrue, if it's not from God, right? If it is true and it is from God, you won't need to do theological gymnastics to explain your position. The things of Scripture, the things of the God, the things of the Bible, they are simple truths that we know to be true. And we don't have to try to explain it. I can't help but think of my very dear friend. He's a pastor in another church, and he has lost his way. One of my best friends. I still talk to him regularly. But he has allowed himself to believe what he once knew was a lie. See, if your beliefs require constant explanation and justification, something's probably wrong. Look at verse 26 and 27. It says, to the one who is victorious and does my will to the end, I will give authority over the nations. Do you hear that? He says, I will give authority over the nations to that person. To the one, or that one will rule them with an iron scepter and will dash them to pieces like pottery, just as I have received authority from my Father. That is incredible to me. I don't know if that strikes you, but Jesus promises that the faithful, those of you that are faithful, will share in His authority. This comes straight out of Psalm chapter 2. That Daniel chapter 10, bookmark Psalm chapter 2. Okay, go read it. That is a royal psalm talking about Jesus, and it's about this God's anointed that's going to come and receive the nations and rule the nations. And this authority was given to Him, and here Jesus says, it has been given to me, and I am giving it to you. That you, because you are faithful, now you get to have participation in what was given to Him. That's the astonishing thing about this whole thing, that Jesus shares His reign with His people. And those who trusted Him with the keys to their life, He's going to give them the keys of authority. I remember in 1994, our high school football team went to the state championship here in Oklahoma. And I was on that team. I was a freshman. I had about this much participation in getting them to the state championship game. But yet, I still got a ring. I still, if you come over and ask me to pull down my Letterman jacket, I'll gladly do so. I'll put it on even. It's kind of fat man in a little coat kind of thing going on, but I still got it. And on it is got a patch from that game in 1994. I had nothing to do with that, and yet I got to participate in the victory of it. Now listen, I know I shouldn't cheapen what this is talking about ruling the nations with Jesus here. And man, I wish I had time to tell you more about what that's going to be like. But the truth is, what Jesus has received, He is going to give to you. And it will be a real reward. But it's not the only reward, and it's not even the greatest reward. Look in verse 28. He says this, I will also give that one the morning star. Whoever has ears, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. The morning star. He's going to give you the morning star. What is that? Sounds cool. Sounds interesting. What is the morning star? Well, Revelation, several places in the Bible say what it is, but Revelation chapter 22, verse 16 says exactly what it is. He says this, I, Jesus, have sent my angel to give you this testimony for the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David, and I am the bright morning star. What is Jesus going to give those people? Himself. That is the reward. See, the reward isn't just authority, it's presence. He promises Himself, and I promise you, there is no reward that anybody could ever get that could ever compare to that. To put it in the words of Paul, the greatest things of this world, if you put the greatest things of this world right here, what would it be for you? What would it be? What was the thing that you covet the most? Would it be power? Would it be respect? Would it be money? Would it be resources? Would it be houses or cars or family or love? Or what would it be? If you put it right here, man, it looks really, really good and shiny up here, doesn't it? Until this happens. Until Jesus walks through those doors and He walks right down this aisle and He stands right beside it. And at that moment, the greatest things of this world, the most desirable things that you could ever want, look like manure. Manure piled up because of who Jesus is. I promise you, the greatest reward of heaven is not golden streets. It's not mansions in heaven. It's the bright morning star. It is Jesus. And He said, I promise you, you will have me if you remain faithful to the end. So today the question isn't whether Jesus is in your life, right? I think for most of us, Jesus is in our life. The question is, does he have all the keys to all the doors? So here's what we want to say today. Number one is this: stop tolerating what Jesus confronts. Take an honest look, not at the front room of your heart, right? Not at the places where you keep clean, that everybody sees. Look at the places that you tend to avoid. Those back rooms that always, when people come over, we just put our laundry in there and we close the door. Pay attention to those rooms. Ask yourself, are there doors that I've kept close to Jesus? Maybe not doors that I forgot about, but doors that I've decided to live with them closed. Maybe it's a relationship that you don't want to deal with right now. Maybe it's a habit that you've renamed so it doesn't sound so serious. Maybe it's a wound that you protected instead of healed. And maybe it's just straight up sin in your life that you're just not really ready to admit. It's not because you hate Jesus. You probably love Jesus. But because you're afraid of what he might change and what it will cost you. But if you trust him, if you love him, you will hand him the keys. And the second one is this: trust Jesus' correction as care, not cruelty. When we hand him the keys, we do it not because it's going to be easy or it won't hurt, but because we trust him. How many guys have ever gone to a doctor and had surgery happen, right? Probably several of you. I've had several myself. Why do we do that? We know that he's going to hurt us, right? But we trust him. What do we trust? We trust his intentions are good. We trust that he knows what he's doing and that he's able to do it. Guys, can I ask, do you believe that Jesus has the best intentions for your life? Do you believe that he knows your situation and knows what's best for you? And do you believe that he has the ability to do the right thing? If you believe that, give him the keys. See, when Jesus presses on a locked door, it's not to destroy you. It's to help you see what he sees. And finally, it's this: choose faithfulness over the easy road. There will always be a voice telling you that faithfulness doesn't have to cost you that much. It's not that really big of a deal. Nobody knows. Nobody cares. Nobody's getting hurt. Nothing has happened. Or sometimes they'll even say that compromise is actually wisdom. It's actually the right thing to do for your family right now. This voice, it sounds reasonable. It sounds compassionate. It even sometimes, to some people, sounds mature. That they just don't know what you know. But whose voice is that? Who does that sound like? See, this voice has always existed, and Scripture has given it different names: the world, the flesh, or the enemy. But those voices never lead you to the places that give you freedom. When you line up the world, Satan, and Jesus in a lineup, which one of those three do you trust? If you say that you trust Jesus, then I'm saying do it. Trust him by giving the keys. See, we don't follow Jesus because it's easy. None of us in here are following Jesus because it's easy. We follow Jesus because he is the Lord. And the one who asks for the keys is the same one that promises himself. If you give me the keys, he says, I will give you something even greater than those keys. I will give you myself. And those who handed over the keys, they lost. Some lost comfort. Some lost control. And some lost things that they thought that they needed. But they gained. Did they not? Did they not gain freedom, healing, and one day they will gain Jesus himself? See, Jesus is worthy of your worship, but he's also worthy of your trust. So give him the keys to every door in your life. If you have those keys, will you hold them in your hands right now as I pray? Just as a reminder for us all.